I'd like to welcome to the Love in Reality podcast from Building the Band. Vibi, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Very, very excited to chat with you today. Excited to talk about the show. Excited to talk about your career in general. You know what I mean? Not just about the show, because the one thing I don't think a lot of people know about the show or didn't know about the show, a lot of you that partook on the show were already in the music business and already singing and doing all those things, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. All right, but before we talk about the show, let's take audiences back a little bit. Tell us a little bit about Vibi, the person, who you are, how you got into music, and all that jazz.
Yeah. Well, my mom likes to say that I was singing before I was talking. And I think that's, true that music was a part of my entire identity from the beginning. I come from like a huge Italian family. So at every gathering that happened, somehow someone would put me on a table and I would start singing for everyone. So I was never ever shy to do that. And yeah, then I just kind of like fell into theater because I had too much energy that I knew what to do with. And it became a love of mine until like Taylor Swift happened. And I was like, okay, mom and dad, like, please get me a guitar. Please for my birthday, please. And then they got me a guitar. I started writing and I eventually went to school for musical theater because I didn't know how to pursue like being an artist and being a songwriter. So I was like, if I go to school for musical theater, then it'll bring me into the city, like Toronto, because I'm from Canada. And while I'm in the city, I'll figure out like how I can do music like while I'm in college. And then I graduated from that program. It was like a 2-year program. I got like my first gig where I was like out in like this place called Aurelia. It's like no man's land kind of energy. And I had to do this play that I didn't really want to be in. And the only time I was happy was when I was like playing my guitar. And I realized that like, that hour that I spent writing a song was the happiest I was that entire show run. And so, yeah, I called my agent and I was like, hey, thank you so much for everything. But I think I need to turn away from the theater and focus in on music because clearly that's where my heart is. So that's kind of the background until me beginning to like become an artist.
Yeah, that's one of the things. You said something that's it's always fascinating to me. I love the idea. Obviously, we all love music. It all brings something unique to each and every one of us. Could get us in a bad mood, good mood, all of the above. But the songwriting aspect of the thing is always the fascinating part because to me, it's like the idea of being able to write a song, let alone perform a song and all that stuff. But the writing process is where it all begins. Talk to me about your writing process and what that looks like and how you kind of get in that mind frame to kind of write a song.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that in a lot of ways, my process hasn't changed since the first time I picked up a guitar. I've always just been either inspired by something that just genuinely happened to me and I needed to process my emotions, or been inspired by a new chord progression. So it kind of goes in either one of those ways, like still to this day, like either I just like absolutely need to write something or else it's going to kill me, or I hear a great chord progression and then all of a sudden, like all the melodies for the song will just kind of like fall into place. So yeah.
I love that. I love that a lot because it's just such a unique experience and I love more than anything, obviously anybody, I like songs in general, but people that do write their own songs and perform their own songs, I feel like it just brings something, a level of comfort, a little of difference when it comes, especially whenever you have like, love songs, heartbreak songs, or just songs that have some sort of meaning behind them as well.
Mhm.
But all right, let's talk a little bit about building the band. How did that casting come about and what made you want to even try out for the show there?
Yeah, okay, so I actually had like been casted for American Idol like years ago, and I didn't get super far. I got like my golden ticket and they didn't air my audition. And at first I was kind of like, dang it, like I went through all that and like, got really nothing from it. And growing up, you're always like, oh my God, like American Idol, like that's like a dream. And so it felt a little bit like anticlimactic when I was a part of that. But everything happens for a reason because the casting producer that casted me for that show or found me or whatever came to me and was like, hey, like, do you want to do this like show? And she's like, you know, you have to, it's like going to be, you build a band and da da da. And I was kind of like, like, do I want to be part of a band? Like, I feel like I grew up with a lot of, you know, band stuff. Like my brothers and I, like we had do our little bands. Like in high school, I had my own band. It's like, yeah, like why not? Like if we're better together, then we're better together. And you know, worst case scenario, I don't get a band. So I was like, let's do it.
Yeah, talk to me about the leading up to the audition stages of the show, right? What was that like? What was the environment like? I've heard from several times of now doing a few different interviews with the cast. Obviously, I found out you guys didn't get to pick your song, which is definitely interesting. Talk to me about what was the preparation process like? Obviously, you sung "Flowers" by Miley, right?
Mhm.
How long from the time that you got the song to the time that you're performing it? What's that process like?
Hmm. It was like, oh God, honestly, I'm bad with remembering time. So this is going to be how I felt about the time as opposed to the actual timestamps.
Perfectly
um,
fine.
yeah, but I feel like we had like a call with like the I guess vocal coaches and stuff and the music director team, I guess. And they had like, how about this song, you know, Flowers? And I think that was like maybe like a month pre like flying to Manchester that we had to learn that song. And I mean, I already knew the song. So for me, it was more about like, how do I make this song different than Miley as opposed to like, how do I learn this song? Um, and we played with the key a little bit too because I wanted it to be a little bit higher so I could show off my high range and which like they didn't show the entire like you know what's it called, the entire version of the song that I did. They kind of cut it down, which sucks because like they cut out kind of the best parts, but it's fine.
Yeah, I noticed that in the brief time that we did see you, right? There was this like infectious energy, you know what I mean? Like you were just vibrant and I could tell, you could tell even when the people are smashing their buttons and stuff like that. When you find out that you did get the enough, like not only did you get enough, you got like I think it was 18 likes
Yeah.
total. How did that feel? Was that like a confidence boost? Because obviously from the time that you perform to the time that you find out about these likes, I know there was some like downtime and you didn't find out like right away, like we saw on the screen for everybody. But
Yeah,
was that like a little bit of a confidence boost heading into like that next stage?
totally. I mean, I because we filmed it all separate. Like we did all of our auditions and before we heard anyone else. And so I kind of was like, you know, when I was doing it, I wasn't aware of the caliber of talent. I expected it, but like wasn't distracted with it. You know, like it wasn't like in my head that like, oh my God, everyone's so good. Like, what if I do a bad job? Like that thought wasn't there, which I'm glad about, you know? And then, uh, but then I remember being like, okay, there was like one note that I wish I sang a little bit better because they don't really like, you're not like up there and singing a billion times, you know. We got to sing it twice. The first time was for the vocal and the second time was for like a different camera angle, so it was more for the physicality. And so if you got one chance to sing it right, and I remember being like, fuck, like there was one note that wasn't perfect, but like otherwise I'm happy. So then when we're like sitting in the booth and I'm listening to everyone, I was like, holy shit, everyone's like absolutely incredible. And then I remember my audition comes in the bunch and I'm like sitting there and listening to it and I'm like, oh my God, like fucking please. Like everyone sounds so amazing. Like I hope that, you know, it was good enough. And then yeah, when I got the 18 likes, I was like, I couldn't have been happier because I was like, just 5 likes is all I need. Please, just 5 likes. So it exceeded my expectation.
Yeah, that's interesting you say this. So to know again, the behind the scenes aspect of the show is also fascinating because it's like I didn't realize you guys are like sitting down. You're sitting down, taking in your performance while everybody else is at the same time. So you're probably like going through the ringer in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, would I click like on myself? Like, did I do a good enough job for myself? I don't know. Like,
Right, exactly. That brings like an extra layer of like this emotion within inside you that you're so like just befuddled by it. All right, talk to me about the process post. Right, that's the point where everybody is talking to one another. Who were like obviously we don't see that aspect of your journey, right? Who were some of the people that you were like vibing with and talking to and attempting to potentially build a band with?
oh my God, you know, there's so many people. And I actually kept a diary that I need to like unveil because I remember writing down everything that was happening and who my favorites were. But I had a conversation with Zach from Midnight Till Morning, and I loved his voice. Like he was like, I think like him and Donzel were like my top favorite like male vocals, and Mason too. I really loved. But anyway, so I was Zach was my first conversation that I got to have, and I was like so excited because I was like, we're starting strong. Like if I get to talk to Zach first, like I'm gonna be in a band. Like I'm pumped, you know. And we like chatted and stuff, and we were actually really aligned on like, because this is before he talked to any of the boys, right? I think I was also potentially one of his first like people he was talking to, and we were just talking about like, I was like, yeah, I kind of want to do this like mixed band, like Fleetwood Mac, Boy Genius, like a little bit more alt kind of vibe, because I feel like we just don't have that, you know, right now from like a mixed group. And he was like, that sounds really cool. And then he totally got swept up by the boys, but it's so okay because I love Midnight Till Morning, and I actually can imagine it any other way.
Yeah,
So
there's such a good there's such a like they're all just like the bands that came together came out perfectly well. So which is gonna, you know, my follow-up. What was it like watching the show, right? And seeing some of these bands come together and watching the show kind of play out.
well, it's so funny because it's like when you get to watch, like to know the result and not know the journey is such an interesting perspective to have, because like, you know, we all kind of knew, you know, we connect with each other after the show, and we were kind of like, you know, getting whispers of what was happening. And yeah, I feel like it was really cool to watch though, because it just felt so faded. Like everyone that was in their bands, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Of course that makes sense. Of course, you know, like even like with my band, I say my band even though I didn't end up being with them, but like in my heart, I'm still with them. And that like you know, season 4 like had the choice between me or Katie for the last slot in the band. And you know, even when that whole like situation was happening where it was kind of like me or her, um, I remember like my whole confessional and everything, I was kind of like, I am so honored because these are like clearly like the strongest vocalists in, I mean, everyone's incredible, but like they had like the most like insane voices. And I was just like, I am about like potentially to be in a band with like the strongest vocals in this competition. And I'm nervous because I know that I'm not their genre. And Katie's far more fits with them, you know? And so there's like the part of me that's like torn because, you know, if they choose me, I think I would have felt a lot of imposter syndrome and would have felt like, you know, that like potentially the missing piece was Katie and I was in her spot. Like I honestly like I remember being in the confession booth being very torn about it and being like, I don't even know that I would like should be in this band, should they even give me the opportunity. Um, but I've met them all since and I love them so much. And they're like literally such incredible people. And them as a vibe, just hanging out as friends too, makes so much sense. And like, so I'm just glad that it worked out exactly the way it was supposed to work out.
Yeah, season 4 is one of it was probably my favorite band on the show.
Yeah.
They just consistently brought it, and if you, it's funny because that was the cool concept of the show, right? You see,
Mhm.
they don't look like a band that you would put together in the streets. You know what I mean? Like when you're putting down a piece of paper and you have the, you know, you have all of the big wigs sitting down and matching faces. It would never have kind of looked the way that it did with the band. But all right, let's change gears a little bit. What's it been like? Obviously, the beginning process of it, you know, since the show, you know, you recorded the show, post show. What's it been like in that process for you musically, from then to now, and what we're working on right now?
Yeah, yeah, post show, I like kind of took a second to start writing again because I was like, well, while I was actually on the show, like in our downtime, I was actually writing songs in between, you know, being on set. Cause like, what else was there to do? They took away our phone, like, they took away like literally everything but a Netflix subscription. So, like, it was either write a song or draw because I love to draw or watch Netflix. So, those were like the 3 activities that I kind of rotated between. But then post show, I kind of had like that, like, you know, post show depression where I was kind of like, oh my God, like I need to process what just happened. Like that was a lot. Obviously I wanted to last in it longer than I did. And so I had to like deal with those emotions a little bit. And I remember actually the psychologist, because they, first of all, Netflix takes care of their people so well. Like they really made sure like every step of the way that we were like okay, like whether it was while we were like in our hotel room, like people were checking in on us, and like, you know, like we almost had like like people part of the welfare that were like acting as our friends to like keep us sane. Like they were so good. So I remember the psychologist had said to me, like, you might have dreams about this for a while. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, that's not going to happen. And then, like, sure enough, like, for probably 2 months after the show, I dreamt about it and like how it could have went different and like, whatever. Cause, I feel like it's just such a human thing to, especially when you really, like, once you're there, you're like, oh, I need to make a band. Like, this is like my everything. Like, I have no access to outside world. Like, I need this in my life.
Yeah,
So
especially since like you were so close, right? You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like you weren't it wasn't like you were some of the other you were in the process of forming a band. So it's a little bit like there's a lot of what ifs with inside that as well.
yeah. And like we wear the same outfit for like that portion, but like it was multiple days, like, that we were doing that. So it really builds up in your mind the what if, and like you're torn, like, I don't know, you're kind of like in this weird state because I was like, okay, I was told like 18 likes is good. So like I should be fine. If this band doesn't work out, then I'm sure there's other people I could talk to. I wanted to talk to Elise. I wanted to talk to Brianna. I wanted to talk to Brie. Like there were so many people that I was like, I really want to talk to them. Like if it's not these people, I'm sure there's other, people I get to talk to. And I actually, like, if you look at me looking at the iPad of like them choosing the other band, I kind of was like, okay. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I was like, great, like, when's my next conversation? Like, I was in denial. Anyways, that wasn't the question. I'm on a rant. But
No, you're fine.
I basically, it took me a little bit to like readjust and like process what happened. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get back in the studio and I'm going to write a project and I'm going to take these feelings that, I experienced on this show and, channel into music. Cause it's always been why I did music in the first place, was truly just to process my emotions. So this next project isn't like centered around this necessarily, but like, there's definitely like hints of like dealing with, expectations and where you are in your career and where you want to be. So like, yeah, like the idea of success is definitely like a potent theme, at least right now in the project.
Yeah, and obviously talk to me about the latest single, talk to me about the music video. I watched it when I first started diving into it. I was like, I love the video. I love the song. Talk to me about the song, talk to me about the music video.
Yeah, I released my single YU I guess months ago now, but it's still fresh because I released a music video recently. And yeah, YU kind of, it was like the deluxe song on my last project. And I just felt like it deserved its own moment. I like wanted to treat it like a single post the project because it just felt like it deserved that moment. And the track itself is just kind of about like, I feel like everyone, or at least most people, can relate to like having that person that, you know, they shouldn't be like still into and they shouldn't still be on their mind, but for whatever reason, they're like just glued into your brain. And yeah, so I wanted to write about that feeling. And it like happened so spontaneously. Like it was like me and my best friends who were also happened to be my closest collaborators. And we had finished another song that day. And I just remember my buddy Adam, who's like the producer, he's one half of the production duo that does like most of my music. He just started playing this like the craziest like bass line ever. And like I just had this idea from a walk earlier that day where I was like, why you like blah blah, like I had a couple lyrics written down. I had like the second verse written down and I had no music to like put it to. And so it just like kind of like fell out at us. And before we knew it, it was 2 a.m. and we had a finished song. And I just feel like the songs that fall out like that, like they're worth putting out. Like they always end up being like the best ones that you write, or at least the ones that you love the most. So yeah, that was the story behind like the creation of that song in particular.
I guess the big question, what is next for Vibi? What is the plan? What do you got going on? What are you trying to do? What's the plan?
Yeah. Well, I'm a solo artist, so that's what I'm going to keep doing. We learned that from not being able to make a band. But yeah, we keep going. I have a single that I'm so excited about. It's like one of my like favorite songs, and it's coming out in September, top of September. And yeah, it actually like kind of like a crazy story as to how it came to be as well, which is just that like, and anyone who's an independent artist listening can like fully relate to this feeling or like this type of phone call. But it was like one of those like hot shot manager dudes, you know, that's like looking for new talent, whatever. You get on the call with them. Okay, so I'm on the call with this guy. He's like you know, he has his A-lister type of artist that he works for. And he's like, kind of like, you know, when a guy is like hitting on someone and they're like kind of talking them down, and then it's like, cool, do you want to go back home with me now? Like, he was doing like the music industry equivalent of that and kind of being like, you know, your streams aren't that good. Like, you know, your like social media isn't like big enough. Da, 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 da. Nobody's watching you. Nobody cares. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the like please take a step back with your negativity. And then he follows that whole conversation with great, yeah, so my monthly fee is, and it was like something like $3,000 to $5,000, something insane like that for his services. And I was like, if I needed like someone to like make me feel like shit, like I would just call up like my like elementary school bullies, babe. Like I still have them on Facebook or some shit, you know what I mean? I'm in this session, I'm like, man, this manager dude was like so rude to me, and then like tried to, you know, make me pay him money to manage me. Like, I first of all don't have that money, and second of all, like, why the fuck? And so then I was like, well, you know what, if nobody's watching, then like I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like, you have no much, there's no freedom, like nobody giving a crap about you. And so then I wrote the song Nobody's Watching. That's my next single. And I feel like it's just like such a like it's just like a cure to the feeling that I felt that day, where it was frustrated. It was like I was invisible. And then I was like, I feel like it makes the like being invisible feel like a superpower now. So it's like my little cure of a song.
I love that. I love that. And again, again, it's crazy because one minute you spark a conversation at 2 a.m. You're making a song. Next, a conversation. You know, again, I love that. That just shows your creativity. And I love that aspect of musicians as well. You know what I mean? And it shows that you got a passion for this, right? You know what I mean? If you don't, then those things don't happen. And fuck that guy. You know what I mean? Let's just say that out loud. You know, I'll say it with you, loud and proud. You know what I mean? But you are awesome. You're infectious energy. You have a great voice. I love the single. I cannot wait to hear the new single. And we'll get that out to the universe as well. Vibi, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. You're an absolute just pleasure to chat with. And hopefully we can talk again in the near future as well.
Love that. Thank you so much for having me, Ricky. This was such a fun conversation.